According to the charging documents, Freddie Gray ran when he saw police in the neighborhood in Baltimore. If officers caught up with him, they found a switchblade in his pocket. Then they arrested him. And that's where this cell phone video picks up. You can see officers dragging Freddie Gray to a police van. By the time Gray got to the police station, according to the police, he was not breathing. Officers called for an ambulance. So what happened? Did the injury happen before he got into the police van? After he was inside the van? CNN's Suzanne Malveaux is live in Baltimore. Suzanne, you talked to Gray's family attorney today. What did he have to say?
But Billy Murphy was hoping to tell the family some news that the autopsy report would be handed over, at least a preliminary report, they'd be able to see it, as well as Freddie Gray's body handed over to the family. Neither one of those things likely to happen today. We heard from the medical examiner's office that said this is a legal process that's got to play out and take some time. So Murphy is telling people to be patient and to be calm. But admittedly, Jake, he is also saying that he is not satisfied and he's not impressed with what he's heard so far from police.
Well, they out here to hurt us.
In Baltimore, tensions are running high.
Why you asking me questions I can't answer? I don't know.
As police struggle to answer for the death of 25-year-old Freddie Gray.
All night, all day, we gon' fight for Freddie Gray.
I've been recording.
Gray's arrest was captured on these dramatic cell phone videos.
His leg broken.
Shortly after this, Gray's attorney says his spine was somehow nearly severed. Then he slipped into a coma and died a week later. Police say the incident began when Gray inexplicably ran from police in a high-crime area. They found a switchblade on him, and he was arrested.
This kid was ultimately stopped for running while black. It's never been probable cause for an arrest.
The police still can't explain how Gray's neck was broken.
When Mr. Gray was placed inside that van, he was able to talk. He was upset. And when Mr. Gray was taken out of that van, he could not talk and he could not breathe.
The Baltimore Police Department just released the names of 6 employees who were involved in Gray's arrests. All are now suspended with pay, including 1 sergeant and 1 lieutenant with 18 years experience. The group of 5 men and 1 woman range in ages from 25 to 45, half with just 3 years of experience on the force.
They don't know when he was injured. That's both refreshing and depressing.
Freddie Gray was apprehended here, a West Baltimore area known for drug activity that police call the hot spot. According to court documents, Gray's arrest occurred without force or incident, but it's clear something went wrong. More than 600 closed-circuit cameras citywide are constantly scanning, but very little is captured in the area where Gray was arrested. What happened off-camera depends on who you ask.
I heard the young man screaming, "Get off my neck, get off my neck, you're hurting my neck."
There was no physical bodily injury that we saw, nor was it evident in the autopsy.
Gray's attorney is urging the family to be patient while they wait for the autopsy results.
It's been traumatic for them, and in addition to being in grief, they are outraged.
And Jake, we are going to see the mother, the stepfather, as well as the twin sister of Freddie Gray here. They're going to be holding a vigil within about a half hour or 40 minutes or so. And as for those 6 people who have been suspended from the force, I talked with the police, Captain Eric Kowalczyk, who said that it is policy for 48 hours if there's a death in the custody of police that they release the names of the officers. It does not mean necessarily that they've determined the role of those officers. That's going to happen through their investigation. Jake?
All right, Suzanne Malveaux, thank you so much. Joining me now to discuss this tragedy is the Mayor of Baltimore, Stephanie Rawlings Blake. Madam Mayor, thanks so much for joining us. It's been 9 days. Almost everyone there seems to have been interviewed. Are you and the police commissioner any closer today to being able to tell the people of Baltimore how this 25-year-old man suffered this fatal injury?
No, I mean, it's going to take more than the interview to determine that. It's going to also take the medical examiner's report. I did talk to our governor today and asked him to work with us to try to get that information out to the family and to the public as soon as possible. I share the frustration that you heard from Mr. Murphy, from many in the community. You see a case where we don't know what the probable cause was. Having a knife is not necessarily probable cause for a stop or for an arrest. We know that Mr. Gray asked for medical attention, and we know that there was some time between that request and when medical attention was gotten for Mr. Gray. These questions need to be answered.
Right. Madam Mayor, I don't know if you heard Suzanne Malveau's piece, but there was a gentleman who said he was a witness who said that Freddie Gray said, according to this witness, "Get off my neck, get off my neck," before he was put into the police van. I'm wondering, have you heard anything along these lines, that there might have been an injury to his neck before he got in the van? Because obviously he suffered a severe wound to his neck that ultimately killed him.
What we have done is continue to ask for members of the public who have information. I think it's great that they're talking to you. They need to talk to the police department, the state's attorney's office that is doing its own independent investigation. We want to hear from as many people as possible, so it is possible to piece together in the most accurate way possible what happened. We want to get to the bottom of it.
One of the reasons there seems to be such frustration is because the only thing we're hearing from authorities is nothing happened to Freddie Gray that was wrong, nothing happened to him that was wrong, we didn't injure him, we didn't wound him, and yet he ended up dead, and 9 days later there's still no information coming from the authorities. It seems fairly obvious that something happened to him, and there just doesn't seem to be an acknowledgement by authorities that that's just the reality.
I want to be abundantly clear. Mr. Gray died while in police custody. We don't know what the cause of the injury was. I think that's what you're hearing. Not that we're not, that there can't be any assignment of blame until we know exactly what happened. But we're going to get to the bottom of it. We know that while he was in our custody, when he first engaged the police department, he was alive. He was breathing. He was responsive. When medical attention came to Mr. Gray, he was unresponsive and not breathing. We're going to figure out what happened. The fact that we're not assigning blame doesn't mean that we won't hold accountable anyone that we find out is responsible for any wrongdoing.
But Madam Mayor, why is it taking so long? It's been 9 days. I can't recall any situation like this before where there's just not even basic information about this young man dying.
Well, I think you're getting a lot of information, and certainly a lot of basic information. What you're not getting is answers, and that's because there's an investigation going on. We put out a timeline yesterday. We put out the video that the city cameras, the closed-circuit TVs, were able to capture. You've seen the videos from bystanders on the street. That's a lot of information, not a lot of answers, because there is an ongoing investigation.
The lawyer for Freddie Gray's family says that race colors this case. I don't know the race of any of the officers involved. You have a much better perspective on this than I do. Do you agree with that?
I think Baltimore has had a very challenging history when it comes to the black community and the police department. And because I'm born here, raised here, and because I understand that problem, I've worked very hard to try to repair the relationship between the police and the community. We've done a lot of work and made a lot of progress. I was just down in our state capitol, one of only a handful of elected officials willing to stand up to the law enforcement officers' lobby to say that we need stronger enforcement and more tools to hold officers accused of wrongdoing accountable.
Madam Mayor, aren't you against body cameras? Aren't you against body cameras?
Absolutely. No. The council sent me a bad bill. I'm against bad legislation. I'm for body cameras, and my track record speaks to that. I want to make sure that we do it and we do it right. I put together a task force that took a look at all of the issues around privacy, around cost, around data collection, around making sure that we get it right for Baltimore. If the legislature if the council sends me a bad bill, I can't sign it. But that doesn't mean we're not going to have body cameras, and it certainly doesn't mean that I'm against them. My track record is clear there.
All right, Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. Coming up, it's an idea only Vladimir Putin could think of. Steven Seagal as a diplomat.